going to cover Palantir, Opendoor, UnitedHealthcare, AMD, and HIMS, and Lucy is going to be joining us as well. So let's start with Lambos or food stamps on Palantir. So how do we rank Palantir for Lambos and food stamps? Well, we're going to be using what I like to call the OVTLYR Nine, and that is where you find the slingshot setup, getting everything put together in the market with the trend, the signal, the breadth. On the sector, the fear and greed growing and the breadth increasing. And then lastly, the stock with the trend, the signal, the fear and greed, and the outlier blocks increasing as well. And Lucy's increasing her dominance on our channel. So what we're going to do is cover these stocks and look at how they are set up on the OVTLYR Slingshot Setup. Now, we want to make sure that they are the strongest stocks possible, right? If I were you, I wouldn't be putting any money into any stock right now because the market is in a sell position, right? And when the market is not conducive to your signals, it is going to make life so much harder. All right. Just imagine it's a slingshot. And the further it gets pulled with everything working your direction, the faster, the higher, the stronger it's going to lift off. We need to see that today. So let's start with Palantir. So we're going to go with the market first. And let's take a look at the SPY. Well, first off, this is not helping anything. We have a sell signal on the market. So that's going to stay red right here. But the market is still trending up. Now, never under any circumstance should you ever go against the trend of the market. Never under any circumstance against the trend of the market. But we do have the 10 over the 20, price over the 50. We did have SPY close under the 20 period. And did it close under the 10 period after that? Close under the 20 period. Now, this right here is a exit everything signal to me. If this happened and I had trades on, I would close literally everything. There's no way I would hold trades with the SPY closing under the 20 EMA. That's our intermediate term trend. When that fails, get worried. All right, get worried. But it did recover the 10 EMA. So we'll see if this holds at this point. So we're going to give the market a green trend. Now, lastly, breadth. This is what's kept me out of the market most of all before that big sell-off. In fact, let me go over to market breadth real quick. And let's scroll over here and we can see, all right, so market breadth has tanked, but it may be starting to reverse here, right? We can see how we had at a low point of only 23% of the market having a buy signal, meaning over 75% of the stocks. There's Lucy chewing her chew toy in the background. My apologies. There's over 75% of the stocks just yesterday with sell signals. Now today that's come up a little bit. It's up at 26% with buy signals. And you'll notice down here that the uptrends are starting to tick back up as well. So that's actually really good. Some positive changes here on breadth, but we don't have breadth set up for us just yet. So I'm going to leave that red. So the market is not fully set up in the direction we want to see. But let's start in Palantir and let's go take a look at how it is set up. So we're going to go over to Palantir. And what we see here is we have a buy signal here on Palantir after earnings. So that's a great start. And we're first going to focus on the tech sector down here. Now, what this chart is measuring is the average fear and greed score for everything combined in the sector. And you can see it's been falling off a cliff. It's getting more and more fearful, less and less greedy. And the same is true when we look at the, so these two charts right here are combined down here. This is what you see. And what we see here is the slight uptick in trends and a slight uptick in buy signals, but still this is bearish. So the whole sector is bearish. I'm not touching anything in this sector. Now, lastly, let's go to the stock itself. Now, 10 over 20, price over 50, bullish trend on Palantir. So that's a great start, right? And a signal. We said we got a buy signal. All right, let's go here. And let's look. I just want to pop this open for a moment here. When we look at the stock news, positive, 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 right? NASDAQ tipped to rise as Palantir jumps. Dow futures trading in the green today. Palantir's Q2 reinforces optimism. Alex Karp just made a comment that may justify Palantir's stock valuation, etc. Lots of positive news coming out here. Fear and greed bottomed and is now starting to come back up, which is what we want to see. And that kind of mimics the news right there. And then any outlier blocks on top of Palantir? Probably not, since we're hitting new all-time highs. And what an outlier block is a area of support and resistance. Now, I want to show you what that looks like on SoFi, because this will help explain it, right? If I zoom out on SoFi, you can see this area right here where price came up into it and was rejected is a perfect example as to why, if a stock is coming up into an outlier block, I won't trade it. This is an area that somebody in 2021, once they got to break even, were so excited to sell out, and they did right there, and it crushed the stock. That was right around earnings. Then it happened a couple more times. But if a stock can push through outlier blocks, that's a great bullish sign. But there's nobody waiting overhead on Palantir since we're hitting new all-time highs. So there's nobody ready to sell out on top of Palantir. So Palantir is going to get a green outlier block right there, which puts it right at the verge of weak buy to neutral to me. Now, listen, I'm not buying anything in this market because the market is not conducive. I'm not buying anything in the sector because the sector is not set up for what I want to see. But Palantir itself, the stock itself, is set up in a nice fashion, right? A nice fashion. So how would you rank this, right? I like to go from Lambos to food stamps, but this is falling somewhere in the middle, right? What kind of Lambo are we looking at today? What kind of Jonathan says it is still a Lambo. It is still a Lambo. A lot of people consider Palantir a Lambo, but just imagine how much stronger it would be if it had the market and the sector working for it as well. Let's move to the next stock. The next stock, Opendoor. I know we cover Opendoor. I've covered it here on the channel. Let's take a look at Opendoor. Bobby says it's not really a Lambo, it's a Ford. Mike says it's a little too choppy for me to enter trades and feel comfortable with the risk. Yeah. Scott says it's a Lambo with no engine. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was this guy a while back who made a Lambo completely 3D printed. I would call that a 3D printed Lambo. That's what I would do. All right. So we're going to reset the stock. The market won't change. Remember, all the same market, but the sector, we are in the real estate sector. Well, I don't do a lot of stocks in the real estate sector, but I do see down here that the real estate sector is getting less and less greedy. The real estate sector still has bearish breadth, so that's not going to change, right? And that's going to be pretty similar across the board everywhere right now. But Opendoor, the stock, has a sell signal, right? We got this buy signal way back here, June 7th, huge move up, and then a sell a couple days after the top. And if you tried it one more time, you might have made a couple bucks, but right now, not Palantir, Opendoor is sitting on a sell signal. And look at how the greed went from basically a score of 17 in fear at the buy signal. It was around 47, and then it got up to 100. That's the first 100 I've ever seen on the fear and greed scale. And then it's fallen off a cliff since that point, right? I think the meme stock mania on Opendoor may be over. We do have that sell signal here. Fear and greed has been going off a cliff. The trend still bullish, 10 over 20, price over 50. So we're going to leave that there. And I don't know if there's going to be outlier blocks. I'm guessing there will be because there's people trying to get out. Yeah. I'm guessing there are people trying to get out right here. And that's exactly what is the case, right? So how are we going to rank Opendoor? How would I, yeah, there we go. No, trend is, there we go. That's what I meant to put. Weak sell. Thank you, Dr. J. Dr. J, one of our winners from Big Money Bingo yesterday. All right, what are we going to put it on? Mike says it was a go-kart Lambo. Manny says Opendoor is a food stamp. Gene says Opendoor is a food stamp. I can agree with you on that. There's no way I'm buying Opendoor. Not any chance. Let's go to the next one. UnitedHealthcare. Now, I saw the chart of this one the other day, and if you are buying UnitedHealthcare, you must hate money. All right. Before we get into Lambos or food stamps, if you are buying UnitedHealthcare, you must absolutely hate money. But let's go evaluate it real quick. UNH, UnitedHealthcare. Man, they have absolutely got monkey hammered to death ever since the CEO issue. I'm not going to go into any sort of detail on that, but UnitedHealthcare is horrible, right? Horrible, dude. There is no way. Like this is food stamps beyond food stamps. We're gonna evaluate it here, but this is the kind of stock you want to stay as far away from as humanly possible. Absolutely, do not touch. This is a toxic stock. Don't even try it. Do not even try it. So fear and greed and breadth on the healthcare sector. The sector, fear and greed, falling off a cliff. Breadth, still bearish. So that's going to stay the same. Now let's go look at the stock itself. It is in a very, very obvious downtrend. a very obvious downtrend. Okay, 10 is well under the 20, price is well under the 50 right here, a very obvious downtrend. Then a sell signal, and then it's getting more and more fearful. And there are people out here screaming that they need to buy United Healthcare. I am screaming the opposite. Stay the hell away from United Healthcare. The trend is bad. The signal is bad. The fear and greed is bad. Let's go. Let's see if there's any redeeming qualities. UNH. I mean, just honestly stay away from this kind of stock. This is the kind of stock that people will promote and say that what a great buy. It can't go any lower. Bull frickin' baloney that it can't go any lower, right? This once was a $600 stock and is now a $240 stock. Okay. It can go lower. It can go hella lower, but it does have actually some bullish order blocks underneath it if it can hold. So I'll give you that one. This is stay away. Stay away. Wait a minute. It's UNG, not UNH? No, it's got to be UNH. What is UNG? UNH is United Health Group. Okay, what's UNG? UNG is not UNG. It's not something we cover. United States Natural Gas Fund. Yeah, it's UNH. It's UNH. All right. Let's and if you are looking at UNG, then UHG? Hang on. UHG. Now I got to go look at that one. UHG? I don't think it's UHG either. UHG. That is United Homes Group, my friend. Yeah, it's not UHG, it's UNH. All right, let's go to the next one on this list here, AMD. Now, I was bearish AF on AMD a while ago. And then the chart changed on May 7th. I can remember that date because it's very obvious what a trend change looks like, right? Let's compare. Let's do a side by side. Let's compare UNH, not UNG or UHG, and then AMD. Let's compare. No, come on, you didn't do it right. UNH. There we go. Let's compare. All right, let's compare. On the right-hand side is AMD. Right? This is AMD. This is UNH. Okay. Now, this is what a bearish trend looks like. However, that doesn't mean it's going down forever, right? That doesn't mean it's going down forever. Now, I need you to keep in mind, a professional trader, a professional investor can recognize it's ADM. There you go, Steve. That was funny. A professional trader can recognize when a trend changes and change his stance, right? And so here's a perfect example. Both of these were in downtrends. One of these bottomed, turned around, and the 10 went over the 20, price went over the 50 right here on May 7th. And it has been gangbusters ever since then. Gangbusters ever since then. Versus, this is not a stock you want to buy. Now remember, you don't know how far it can go down. That's the issue here. You can buy the dip all you want. The problem is you don't know how far that dip is going to go. And when UNG was a $600 stock, and then it was a $500 stock, and then it was a $400 stock, and then it was a $300 stock, and now it's a $200 stock, it can tell you right there, it can go down way farther than you ever think it could. Let's go back to AMD. We're looking at AMD. We're going to objectively go through AMD. Now, this is still in the tech sector, just like Palantir, so we don't have to redo this. But let's look at AMD stock itself. AMD, dude, this buy signal, I have to like zoom out to see the buy signal, has been tremendous. This buy signal came on April 28th, has been huge, huge. In fact, the signals have been 353% on AMD. I'm just curious here, like, are people still positive, neutral, neutral, negative, neutral, positive, positive? It's actually a little bit more split. I thought there would be AMD fever all across the news. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, AMD absolutely is in a bullish trend. 10 over 20, price over 50. Humongous. One of the best buy signals I've ever seen. Getting more and more greedy and has gone from a score of 33 in fear all the way up to 89 with no slowing down. So, man, AMD is crazy. Once that hits 90, though, it can't go that much higher on the fear and greed scale. So I'd be I'd be looking for a snapback. Outlier blocks, yes, bigly. Now this, in fact, great example already. The first time it's come up into this outlier block, it got rejected. It got rejected. Now I built a second outlier block right here. The further back these go, the stronger they are. So this is from July of last year. And keep in mind, if you bought AMD July of last year, thinking you were buying the dip, it's now August, a year later, and you're just to break even. That's what this area of order blocks represent. People who bought it here who are ready to get out. And they are ready to get out right here. Now, we do have earnings. Earnings are always a crapshoot, but I would not trade AMD. No way would I be trading AMD right here, where it's got outlier blocks stacked on top of it, go into earnings. That makes me extremely, extremely nervous. So you tell me, is AMD going to tank after earnings today? I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. I don't put any sort of risk when I don't have to. And this is one of those times where I would definitely not be putting on any risk, but that's just me. That's just me. Mike says it's all monkey donkeys. All right. Guillermo has a great question. How come the signal came before the crossover? They're two different things, right? The signals are not built on the moving averages. The moving averages are built on price. These signals are built on all kinds of other information that go into it. But yeah, I would only trade it once the trend changes. That's when I would start looking to trade it. All right, let's go to the next one here. The last one, HIMS and HERS. HIMS actually on my Sunday video was like the most set up at the time, but they just had earnings and are down 10-11% right now pre-market. This is why, right? Now, we get used to seeing big blowout earnings where they're so high, so giant, everything is going right. And then every once in a while, you get reminded just how risky earnings can be. Every once in a while, Lucy, we get reminded just how dangerous earnings can be. And if you own HIMS this morning, you're waking up to 11% down. 11% down is not where you want to be. I mean, if you want to get hair like Lucy's, though, HIMS is the company to help you with that. But let's go look at HIMS. And let's see exactly what's going on over here. Now let's type HIMS. Come on, type it. There we go. HIMS. HIMS got hammered. Exactly. Putting on the risk right there. And Blackhawk or Back to Work says, buy the dip. Dude, I don't buy the dip on anything unless the trend changes direction. Then I'm very interested. But let's take a look at HIMS right here. So fear and greed and breadth. Yeah, fear and greed falling off a chart. Breadth falling off the chart over here. So I wouldn't have even bought it. I wouldn't be in the stock no matter what. Now let's go look at the stock itself. It was rising on fear and greed. It was rising on fear, but yesterday it actually ticked down slightly on the or actually that would be today. Ticked down slightly on the fear and greed. So that's going to stay red on the fear and greed. The trend is still in a bullish trend, 10/20, price over 50, but that sell signal came through. Sell signal came through. And then outlier blocks. I was surprised that there's not an outlier block here yet. There might be one develop here, and it'll be another one just like this. Yeah, HIMS has been on a huge roller coaster ride, but I'll give you that. There's no way I'm buying HIMS. Couldn't even imagine putting my money into it. Richard says it's a meme stock. No telling what it does from day to day. Exactly. Chris from Wisconsin says HIMS is a rusty Pinto with duct taped gas tank. I like that. That's a great description. Yeah, so here's what I want y'all to do. If it doesn't hit all the way on strong sell or on strong buy, right? That's the Lambo. That's the food stamp. I want you guys to tell me where it would lie, and that is a great one right there. I like that, Chris. So listen, we covered objectively Palantir, Opendoor, UnitedHealth, AMD, and HIMS, right? Now it's your job to realize when it is time to put your money into the market and when it is time to sit in cash and don't F up, all right? Right now, for me, the way that I like to trade, the way that I'm telling outliers to trade right now is to sit in cash and don't F up your portfolio, because you can do anything in the market, but I don't recommend putting anything in the market until we see the market momentum come back, and we don't have that just yet. But I do want you to take a few minutes while we are waiting in cash and not effing up to save time, make money, and start winning with less risk by watching one of these two videos. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk soon.